Who's responsible to help when a genocide is taking place? Is the U.S. obligated to help the Kurds and Christians if Turkey commits genocide? As we've heard, many Christians are fearful that Turkey will commit a religious genocide against them. With U.S. troops still in the area, what would be their legal and moral responsibility or limitations to intervene in that case? I talked with Israeli lawyer David Benjamin earlier about the implications in international law. What is the culpability of U.S. troops if they're close to what could be described as either ethnic cleansing or genocide?
There are actually two questions here. The question is, believe it or not, if it's even legal to use force for the prevention of ethnic cleansing or genocide, because the general principle set out in the UN Charter is that states may not use force in the conduct of their international affairs. That's the general principle. Now, there are exceptions. The one big exception is if you get an authorization from the United Nations Security Council, which will take its decision in the interests of international peace and security. And the other, sometimes a little bit more controversial, is self-defense. So you're entitled to defend yourself even without a UN Security Council authorization if you are under armed attack from another state. Now, what we're talking about here is essentially what's become known as humanitarian intervention. So you're not defending yourself as such. What you're doing is actually intervening on behalf of civilians of another state or of a foreign group. Is that even legal? And actually, the precedents we have for that are quite recent, but they're not to be contained in the so-called black letter law. Of course, if the UN authorizes action, that's fine. But the question is, what if the UN doesn't? And now we have the example of Kosovo, where NATO got involved and unilaterally acted to prevent ethnic cleansing in Kosovo. So there is a precedent. And in the world today, it's generally accepted, certainly from a moral point of view, that would have been justified. But it's not clear-cut at all if it's even legal.
So it's very unclear legally what, if anything, the U.S. troops, now they have left, but not totally out of Syria, if they see that war crimes and genocide, ethnic cleansing might be undertaken by Turkish troops and their allies. So there is a possibility that they could come back to help.
Well, of course, that's strictly legally speaking as a lawyer. Of course, there's a question of the moral or ethical obligations which run far deeper, I think. And I think maybe in certain situations you do the right thing and you worry about, send your lawyers in afterwards to explain why it was legal. I just think that the US, even if it has a very small contingent, can actually pack a very heavy punch. For the simple reason that nobody, at least most states in the world, will not be in a hurry to pick a fight with the US. So they have to realize that they have a very strong leverage, even with a small force in Syria.